All right, welcome back again, everyone. I'm here with Fiona McGlynn, one of the astrological apprenticeship students from the 4-year program at Asheville Vedic Astrology.com. We've been continuing this series on the planets of each ascendant, and with Fiona, we've been talking about Libra ascendant, and we've gone through Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and now we're coming to what many people consider to be, in a sense, one of the best planets for a Libra ascendant, and that's Saturn. Yes. So, Saturn, what are your initial thoughts, feelings, ideas about Saturn for a Libra ascendant, Fiona?
Well, I think this turns on its head that idea we just had with Jupiter, right? You go in thinking, yay, Jupiter, where is it? What's going to be happening? And we realized we were in a 3-6 kind of mess with Jupiter. And now here we are with Saturn for a Libra ascendant, ruling 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. So straight away we like that because we can see that the 4th house is an angle, the 5th house is a trine. It's always beautiful when we get a planet ruling. Yes. Yes,
and I want to just stress, we have the rule that when planets rule, when a cruel planet rules an angle, that it's great.
Yes. So
just take a moment and restate the corollary or the addendums to that. Exactly. And why this is good.
Okay, so we have this idea that we like to think it's better to have cruel planets on your angles because they can take charge of life. But really the important clause is that is the case. It is a good thing if it's also ruling a trine. So that's like, for some reason, like that sentence is written like that, but we only remembered the first line of it. So when we can see a cruel planet ruling an angle and a trine, astrologers' eyes light up. We like that. And also we're kind of getting ahead of us here, but we know that it's exalted in the 1st house, so we know that it's also linking this idea of 1, 4, and 5 possibly. So, it's got this nice, strong, powerful grace.
Right.
It's a really good connection. However, as well, we must keep in mind that Saturn is still Saturn, right? So Saturn is still got this this energy of it helps us with the restrictions that we need in our life to contain our power, to get things done. But restriction doesn't always feel very comfortable, so we don't necessarily like the experience. And when you think about that with 4 and 5, what have you got? 4, this nice soft center of our treasures, our home, our heart, our mother, our happiness, and Saturn's ruling that. And then 5th house, grace, and, to some extent, the changes that we can make in our life, the direction we're going to take in our life, and Saturn's ruling that. So I agree entirely that this is obviously a very good yoga, having Saturn in the 4 and the 5, but we must remember that Saturn's going to bring a heaviness to those, or it's going to bring a gravitas to these things, like it's not like a yippee party situation.
Right.
And I guess we could also say that we would expect that perhaps also going to bring some delays around those things, around children, around, could be around buying homes or something like that, could be some delays around really grabbing a hold of your life and taking in the direction that you want to go. So yes, very, very good indication. Saturn is the planet of greatness, right? So it is good, but hard taskmaster too.
Yeah, and those 2 points that you brought up about Saturn ruling over the 4th and the 5th, and that it could give delays to children, could give delays to buying a home or internal happiness. But the good thing about Saturn is that since it's the planet of greatness, what it does is it gives a capacity. The person's not going to peak early. They're not. True. They're not going to have things happen for them to where typically everything goes great and then that's it. With Saturn ruling the 4th and the 5th for Libra ascendant, then it's like those things such as building a home, building their sense of happiness, building their legacy, building a family, those things grow stronger as they get older and continues even through into old age.
Good
which
point.
Is one of the reasons why, number one, a Libra ascendant developing a sense, and they usually do, having a sense of patience, having a sense of the hard work that Mars and Saturn gives them in their two exaltation positions within these kinds of charts. But it allows them to build a strong legacy. It allows them to build a strong legacy that grows slowly, but and maybe even exponentially over time, versus some other situations where the person might say peak when they're 20, and then you talk to them 30 years later and they're still trying to relive their glory days. Usually, as long as you're working with Saturn well with a Libra ascendant, that usually doesn't happen.
Yep. And that also picks up, doesn't it? Is the fifth house got a learning element there as well, hasn't it? Of just that Saturn we're all going to make mistakes in that fifth house. That's what, we're going on our own. We're moving our life the direction we want to. So Saturn is going to fail like any other planet would, but it's going to have that intellect and the firmness of mind to learn from its mistakes and not give up.
Right. And with the fourth house, Saturn ruling the fourth in that regard, it also shows that they are acutely aware of what real happiness is like. Meaning that it's like it's not all just good stuff happening.
I see what you're saying.
It's like they develop potentially a very, I would consider it to be like a healthy Buddhist perspective, where they're able to be in the moment and appreciate the good things as they come, or even yoga, because in yoga, it says things like the yogi essentially learns to endure pleasure and pain. The yogi the yogi celebrates the virtuous but practices neutrality towards the wicked. And when you get Saturn ruling over the fourth like that, it's that kind of idea. It's like it knows that there is cruelness and difficulty in the world, and it doesn't focus on it such that it says everything is horrible. It says it's there, just like mud and dirt is there. But from that also comes learning, fifth house things, growth, our legacy. We're able to build upon that. So that's one of those interesting nuances.
Yeah, and maybe I didn't say clearly, but I guess it's saying that for a Libra ascendant, children and happiness are, linked together here. Right.
And also because, then we have the Libra ascendant can have a strong emotional attachment to their children, fifth house things,
yes,
as well as to their home and their property, fourth house things, because that ruler of the fourth and fifth becomes exalted in the first, which is their personality.
Right? Yeah. So this is, it just sounds really funny to say this is a very happy combination, because it's just happy and Saturn don't kind of seem to go in the same sentence, but it's a very happy combination. Like to get, so yes, this is the jewel in the Libra yogas of the ascendant planets. Yes.
Right. And also, just a little tidbit of information is that with the Libra ascendant, when it comes to children and when it comes to home and the emotional nature, it really works better if they're in a relationship and they're the ones in charge of that stuff. And that's because we have it exalted in the first and it's debilitated
in the seventh.
Partners can tend to, if a Libra ascendant pays too much attention to their partners related to those things, they will tend to have a lot more suffering, a lot more sorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know Libras are. Well, I was just going to say, I know Libras everywhere are saying, yes, of course, I knew it all along that people should have listened to me when it came to raising my children. And just go back and watch that Mars video before you start saying.
That's right. Exactly. Well, let's talk now a little bit about that debilitation and exaltation points, because it does link back to this Mars. I think by this stage in the conversation, we're really seeing some harmony in a few themes coming along. So for a Libra ascendant, Saturn is debilitated in the seventh house of partners. And you were just picking up that idea that this is going to possibly raise some issues around parenting. And is it also what's happening for Saturn there is that it's debilitated in Aries because it's the Sun and Mars, who are both very happy in that Aries space, are seeing the flaws. They're the enemies seeing the flaws in Saturn. It's where Saturn feels the least confident and the most aware of its.
Well, There's numerous things that contribute to that. The two things you just mentioned are key, which is the fact that the sun is exalted there.
Yep.
And the fact that it's Mars's sign. And we know these are two difficult planets for Saturn. But also another level of that is that we know that Saturn gets directional strength well, this is another one of those catches, isn't it?
Yes.
Mars gets directional strength in the 7th house.
Yes.
Right. When it comes to Shadbala, but that's really based on this idea of when we think about how Saturn, hopefully I said that right. I think I had some planets mixed up in my head. But Saturn is exalted in the 7th, which is the natural 7th sign of the zodiac. Right.
Yes.
And so here we're taking Saturn, we're putting it in the natural 1st sign of the zodiac.
Yes.
And Saturn is not meant to be selfish.
Yep.
Right. And it's so hard to kind of thread all these things together because it's the 1st sign.
I know.
But it's the 7th house for a Libra ascendant. So we have to learn to try to weave these nuances together.
Yeah.
But it's oftentimes with Libra ascendants, they will tend to have partners that may be a little more selfish.
Okay.
And they may not be able to put everyone else's needs above their own.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've got a family, ideally, the idea is that the parents or the people in charge that they're sacrificing themselves for the family and the family happiness.
Yes.
And so having Saturn exalted in the 1st, that shows the Libra who has the capacity to know the kinds of hardships that are endured for success, but the partner may have a lot of difficulty living up to that.
Yep. Yeah, I do, and that Saturn is debilitated there, so it's gone and picked a partner that is potentially selfish. So
right,
yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the comments on this one, Ryan.
Sure.
But let's bring this back maybe to another idea linking this 1 and 7 thing. Do you think we could say that because Saturn is ruling 4 and 5?
Mm-hmm.
And it is exalted in the 1st but debilitated in the 7th, that for a Libra ascendant, really important to, maybe this contrasts with your not being selfish, but to not be a people pleaser and to please the self, like to be grounded in that 1st house,
right?
Rather than trying to do things for the other that will make them happy or make their life go in the direction that it should go, like the 4-5 going for the other.
Yes.
So there has to be like not too much people pleasing. Like that's an area where they're going to just, dissipate and be not effective.
Yes, and that's an excellent point. And I don't think you could say it any better than that. It comes down to the idea of people pleasing, because when Venus itself is having some weakness, or Libra, the chart itself is not situated with a lot of strength in the angles, the person will take their direction, and they may again try to please other people, or, as we know, the 3rd house ruled over by Jupiter, 6th house ruled over by Jupiter, depending on what's going on with Jupiter, they may think that they're going to find their happiness through getting along with their peers, and doing things that their peers want them to do, or kind of trying to negotiate with their enemies, when really they should be strong and consistent in their position. And that's what that Saturn in the 1st house does. It shows the person is acutely aware of what their inner truth is, and they're living it. It's not about, it's not about the classic idea of Venus of, I want all my desires fulfilled. It's about what is the highest truth that will lead to the highest fulfillment. That's Saturn exalted in the 1st, ruled over by the 4th, the heart and the emotions, and the 5th, the inspiration. You see, fourth is emotions, 5th is inspiration. So when you give your heart and your emotion, your inspiration to someone else, you're going to make all kinds of mistakes. That's the difficulty of it. Yeah.
So stay strong out there, you Libra ascendants.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Good. All right. Well, I think that might be good for Saturn and Libra. What do you think? Do we miss anything?
Oh, well, there's always more to talk about, but I think we've had a great conversation.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just conclude here then with the Saturn. Saturn for Libra ascendant. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.